The envelope trembled in my hands, its contents burning through the paper like acid. I'd found it tucked between Ryan's tax documents, a love letter from someone named Emma, dated just last week. My stomach lurched as I read it again, each word cutting deeper than the last. I'm Harmony, and until 5 minutes ago, I thought I knew what my life was. 23 years of marriage, a beautiful daughter, and a family farm that's been in Ryan's family for generations. Now, now I'm standing in our home office, holding proof that my husband has been living another life. Mom? Olivia's voice floated up from downstairs. Grandma Margaret's here for dinner. Perfect timing. I shoved the letter back into its envelope, my fingers catching on the edge. A thin line of blood welled up, and I watched it bloom across my skin. Fitting, really. Coming, sweetheart. I called back, impressed by how steady my voice sounded. The medical results from yesterday's tests sat unopened on my desk, another bomb waiting to explode. But this betrayal? This took precedence. I descended the stairs, counting each step to keep myself grounded. Margaret stood in our kitchen, arranging flowers in a vase like she owned the place. She probably thought she did. Harmony, dear, you look pale, Margaret said, her eyes sharp as needles. Have you been taking those vitamins I recommended? I've been taking care of myself just fine, I replied, moving to the stove where Olivia stirred the pasta sauce. My daughter shot me a knowing look. She'd always seen through her grandmother's concerned act. The front door opened, and Ryan's heavy boots crossed the threshold. My husband of 23 years, the man who'd promised to love me forever, walked into the kitchen smelling of hay and lies. Something smells amazing, he said, kissing my cheek. His lips felt like brands against my skin. I stirred the sauce, watching the red liquid swirl. How was your day? Did you finish that paperwork for the bank? Most of it, he answered too quickly. I'll handle the rest tomorrow. Tomorrow. When he'd told me he had a farming equipment auction to attend, the letter in my pocket said otherwise. Emma was expecting him for lunch at their usual place. Actually, I said, turning to face him, I need those documents tonight. For the insurance company. His face flickered, just for a moment, before he recovered. I'll get them to you first thing in the morning, honey. Promise. Another lie. They came so easily to him now. Olivia's hand brushed against mine as she reached for the salt, and I caught the slight squeeze she gave my fingers. Sometimes I wondered if she knew more than she let on. My brilliant, observant daughter, who never missed a detail. I smiled at my husband, at my mother-in-law, at this carefully constructed life that was about to shatter. Of course, dear, I said. Whatever works best for you. After dinner, I found Olivia in her room, textbooks spread across her bed like a paper fortress. She looked up when I entered, her eyes carrying that same knowing weight they'd held in the kitchen. You found something, didn't you? She asked, closing her calculus book. The letter burned in my pocket. What makes you say that? Mom, please. You've been stirring that pasta sauce for 20 minutes, and you barely touched your food. She patted the space beside her. Plus, I saw the way you looked at Dad when he mentioned tomorrow's auction. I sat down, the mattress dipping under our combined weight. There is no auction, I said, pulling out the envelope. Olivia read the letter twice, her fingers tightening on the paper until her knuckles went white. Emma Collins, she said, the name falling from her lips like poison. That explains the calls. What calls? The ones that come when you're out in the garden. Dad always takes them in his office, but I've heard him say that name before. She reached for her laptop. And I think I know who she is. 3 clicks later, we were staring at a Facebook profile. Emma Collins, 28, Real estate agent, young, beautiful, everything I used to be. There's more, Olivia said, pulling up another window. Remember when Grandma Margaret insisted Dad needed help with the farm's bookkeeping? Look who got hired 6 months ago. The pieces clicked into place. The late nights at the office, the sudden interest in modernizing their accounting system, Margaret's smug satisfaction at finding the perfect solution to their staffing needs. Your grandmother knows, I whispered. Of course she does. She probably orchestrated the whole thing. Olivia's voice carried a bitterness I'd never heard before. She's always thought you weren't good enough for Dad. The medical results on my desk flashed through my mind. Olivia, there's something else. A knock at the door cut me off. Margaret stood there, her smile tight and practiced. Having a little mother-daughter chat? Just helping with calculus, Olivia lied smoothly, flipping open her textbook. How domestic. Margaret's eyes landed on the envelope peeking from beneath the math book. Harmony, dear, I noticed you seemed distracted at dinner. Is everything all right? I met her gaze, seeing the challenge there. She knew I knew, and she was daring me to do something about it. Actually, Margaret, I've been meaning to ask you about the farm's new bookkeeper. Emma, isn't it? You must know her quite well by now. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Behind Margaret, I saw Ryan appear in the hallway, his face draining of color. Well, Margaret said, her smile never wavering, perhaps we should discuss this downstairs, as a family. Olivia's hand found mine under the textbook, a silent promise of support, a reminder that I wasn't alone in this fight. Yes, I agreed, standing up. Let's discuss it all. The farm's financial records spread across my brother Samuel's dining room table like evidence at a crime scene. 3 hours of digging through papers I'd stolen from Ryan's office, and my hands wouldn't stop shaking. These numbers don't add up, Samuel said, tapping his pen against a stack of invoices. There's money moving through accounts that don't exist in the official books. I reached for my coffee, now cold. How much? Hundreds of thousands. He circled another figure. And look at these equipment purchases. The prices are inflated, but the difference isn't showing up in the farm's accounts. My phone buzzed. A text from Olivia. Grandma's looking for the papers. Dad's freaking out. They know, I said, showing Samuel the message. I need to get these back before... The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Ryan's truck in the driveway, Margaret in the passenger seat. Samuel stood, his face hardening. Go upstairs. I'll handle this. I gathered the papers, but stopped at the stairs. 23 years of marriage, and I'd never heard Ryan's voice sound like this. Where is she, Sam? This isn't your business. My sister made it my business. Samuel's voice carried that quiet danger I remembered from our childhood. Maybe you'd like to explain why you're embezzling from your own farm. A sharp intake of breath. Margaret's. How dare you make such accusations? Ryan would never. The numbers don't lie, Margaret, unlike your son. Those documents are private property, Ryan growled. If Harmony doesn't return them immediately... You'll what? I stepped into view, papers clutched to my chest. Ruin our marriage. Destroy our family. Beat me to it, didn't you? Ryan's face flushed. You don't understand. Emma and I... Emma? Samuel cut in. The bookkeeper? Well, that explains the creative accounting. Mother, please wait in the truck, Ryan said, but Margaret stood her ground. This is ridiculous. Harmony's always been jealous of any woman who shows Ryan attention. If she'd been a better wife. A better wife? My laugh sounded foreign to my own ears. While you two were busy finding Ryan the perfect mistress, I was sitting in a doctor's office, learning I might have cancer. The silence that followed felt like a physical blow. Ryan's face went slack, Margaret's hand flew to her throat, and Samuel moved closer to me. The tests, Ryan whispered, the ones you wouldn't talk about. Funny how you never asked again. Too busy with your lunch dates? I pulled out my phone, showing them the screen. Olivia's been documenting everything. Every meeting, every transaction, every lie. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to sign over half the farm's value to me, or I'm taking these papers to the police. Margaret stepped forward. You wouldn't dare destroy this family's legacy. Watch me, I said. And for the first time in 23 years, she took a step back. The oncologist's office felt colder than I remembered. 3 days after confronting Ryan, and here I sat, alone with my test results finally opened. Stage 2, treatable but aggressive. The irony wasn't lost on me. While I'd been gathering evidence of my husband's betrayal, my own body had been plotting its own rebellion. My phone lit up with a message from Emma Collins. My finger hovered over delete, but something made me read it. We need to talk. There's more you should know. The coffee shop she suggested was 30 minutes away. I watched her through the window before entering. Younger than me, yes, but her shoulders carried the same weight I'd seen in my own mirror. Thank you for coming, she said, pushing a folder across the table. I've been keeping records. Inside were printouts of bank transfers, text messages, and photographs. Not just of her and Ryan, but of other women, other accounts. I'm not the first, Emma said, her voice barely above a whisper. Margaret, she has a system. Find young women who need money, offer them jobs, arrange meetings with Ryan. When they get too attached or ask too many questions, she makes them disappear with enough hush money to keep them quiet. My coffee turned to acid in my stomach. How many? 5 that I know of. But the money, it's not just about the affairs. Ryan's been moving farm assets into offshore accounts for years. Margaret's idea, insurance, she called it, against you. The bell above the door chimed. Olivia walked in, her face pale. Mom, I got your text to meet you. What's she doing here? Emma stood, gathering her things. Helping, I hope. Check the last page. That's Margaret's private email password. Everything's there. Every plan, every payoff, every lie they ever told you. After she left, Olivia took her seat, eyes fixed on the folder. I found something, too. Grandma's been visiting lawyers. They're planning to contest your right to any farm assets, using your illness as leverage. How did you... I saw the hospital papers in your room. Olivia reached across the table, her hand covering mine. Why didn't you tell me? I wanted to protect you. Like Dad protected you? Like Grandma protected the family name? She pulled out her laptop. I've been tracking their accounts. If we act now, we can... My phone buzzed again. Ryan, coming home early. We need to talk about your future with the farm. Olivia read the message over my shoulder, her expression hardening. They're making their move. I looked at my daughter, seeing not the child I'd tried to protect, but the ally I needed. The cancer could take my body, but I wouldn't let Ryan and Margaret take everything else. Then it's time, I said, to make ours. Samuel's contact at the FBI scrolled through the files on his laptop, his expression darkening with each click. This goes beyond simple embezzlement, he said. These offshore accounts are linked to larger operations, money laundering, tax evasion. Your husband's been busy. I gripped the edge of Samuel's desk. Can you prove it? With Emma's records and Olivia's documentation? Absolutely. But Harmony. He leaned forward. Once I file this report, there's no going back. Your whole family will be investigated. My phone buzzed. Margaret. Having dinner at the house tonight. Important family matters to discuss. Don't disappoint me. Another message followed from Olivia. Dad's lawyer is here. They're in the study with Grandma. How long? I asked the agent. Give me 48 hours to organize the evidence. Then we move. I stood, my decision crystallizing. I'll be at dinner tonight. Make it 24. The drive home felt like entering enemy territory. Through the kitchen window, I saw Margaret directing the housekeeper, arranging flowers like nothing was wrong, like she hadn't orchestrated the destruction of my marriage multiple times. Ryan's voice carried from the study, "She's sick, Mother. We can't just—" "Which is precisely why we must act now," Margaret cut in, "before she ruins everything we've built." I pushed the door open. They froze. Ryan, Margaret, and a man I recognized as James Porter, the family's longtime attorney. Harmony. Margaret recovered first. We were just discussing my illness or the fact that you're planning to use it against me. I moved to Ryan's desk, running my finger along its polished edge. Interesting timing, considering what the FBI might find in those offshore accounts. The color drained from Ryan's face. James Porter cleared his throat, gathering his papers. Perhaps we should reschedule. Stay, I said, my voice harder than I'd intended. You'll want to hear this. Olivia appeared in the doorway, laptop in hand. I have the files ready, Mom. Margaret's eyes narrowed. What files? Everything, Olivia said. The other women, the missing money, your emails, planning it all. Did you really think I wouldn't protect her? Ryan stepped toward me, hands raised. Harmony, please. We can work this out. The farm? Our family. Our family? I laughed, the sound sharp enough to make him flinch. You mean your empire of lies? Well, here's the truth. In 24 hours, every dirty secret you've buried comes to light. Unless what? Margaret demanded. I pulled out the papers Samuel had prepared. You sign over half the farm's assets to me. Clean assets, legally documented, and Ryan admits to everything in the divorce proceedings. You wouldn't dare destroy. Try me. I met her gaze. I'm dying anyway, remember? What else do I have to lose? The hospital corridor stretched endlessly before me as I followed the oncologist to her office. My latest test results had come back, and the timing couldn't have been worse. 23 hours left before the FBI moved, and my body was betraying me just like everyone else. The cancer has spread more aggressively than we anticipated, Dr. Chen said, laying out scan images. We need to start treatment immediately. My phone buzzed. A text from Samuel. Ryan's emptying accounts, moving faster than expected. We need to act now. Another message followed from Olivia. Grandma's called an emergency board meeting. They're voting to remove your name from the trust. Mrs. Sanders? Dr. Chen's voice pulled me back. Did you hear what I said? Without immediate intervention. How long do I have? The words tasted like ash. She hesitated. With aggressive treatment, maybe. The office door burst open. Margaret stood there, Ryan behind her, both wearing expressions of concerned triumph. Dr. Chen, Margaret said smoothly, I'm Ryan's mother. Given my daughter-in-law's condition, we're concerned about her ability to make medical decisions. We've brought papers. Get out! My voice shook, but I forced myself to stand. Harmony, be reasonable. Ryan stepped forward. You're sick. Let us help. Like you helped those other women, or the farm's investors. I turned to Dr. Chen. My husband and mother-in-law are currently under federal investigation for fraud. They're trying to seize control of my medical care to protect their assets. Margaret's mask slipped. You Grateful. My phone rang. Emma's name flashed on the screen. I answered on speaker. Harmony? They're destroying everything. Ryan's men are at the office shredding files. They found my recordings. The line went dead. Ryan's face twisted into something ugly. You really think anyone will believe a desperate mistress and a dying woman over me? I built that farm. Everything you have is because of me. No. Olivia's voice came from the doorway. She held up her phone, recording everything. Everything we had you stole, and now everyone will know. Dr. Chen stood. I'm calling security. Don't bother, I said, fighting a wave of dizziness. They're leaving, and tomorrow, they're signing everything over to me, or I release every piece of evidence we have. Your choice. Ryan stepped closer, his voice low. You won't live long enough to spend it. Maybe not, I agreed, meeting his gaze. But Olivia will, and she knows everything. Margaret grabbed Ryan's arm, pulling him back. As they left, I collapsed into the chair, the room spinning. Mom! Olivia rushed to my side. Call Samuel, I whispered, fighting to stay conscious. Tell him to move now. We're out of time. The darkness crept in, and I wondered if I'd wake up to see justice served, or if this would be Ryan's final victory. The FBI agents swarmed the farmhouse at dawn. I watched from Samuel's car as Ryan and Margaret were led out in handcuffs, their faces ashen in the morning light. But it wasn't over. Not yet. You don't have to do this, Samuel said, gripping the steering wheel. The federal charges will stick. He's finished. I opened the car door. I need to see his face when he realizes who really brought him down. The police station interview room felt smaller than I'd imagined. Ryan sat across the table, his lawyer whispering urgently in his ear. When I entered, he straightened, that familiar, arrogant smile playing at his lips. Come to negotiate? He asked. I placed Emma's phone on the table. No, come to show you something. The recording played crisp and clear, Ryan's voice discussing offshore accounts, mistresses, plans to declare me mentally incompetent. But it was the last conversation that made his smile fade. Your mother's quite the strategist, Emma's voice said, teaching you how to hide money, arrange affairs, manipulate women. Like father, like son, right? Ryan's recorded laugh. Dear old dad never knew what hit him. Mother made sure of that. Just like we'll handle Harmony. I stopped the recording. Your father's accident 20 years ago. The brake lines didn't fail by themselves, did they? The color drained from his face. You can't prove. Emma kept everything, Ryan. Every conversation, every confession, even the ones about your father. His lawyer stood. This interview is over. Sit down, I said, my voice steady despite the room spinning. There's more. Why are you doing this? Ryan demanded. You're dying anyway. Take the settlement. Because of Olivia. Because every penny you stole, every life you and Margaret destroyed, it all stops now. I slid a document across the table. Sign it. All assets transferred to Olivia's trust, managed by Samuel until she's 21, or your mother gets to hear exactly how you really feel about her. Methods. His hand shook as he reached for the pen. You've become quite ruthless. I learned from the best. I stood, fighting the weakness in my legs. One more thing. Those offshore accounts you thought you'd hidden? The FBI found them an hour ago. Every cent goes to your victims' families. You'll destroy everything, he whispered. No, Ryan. You did that yourself. I'm just making sure you pay for it. As I turned to leave, he called out, What about forgiveness? I paused at the door. Ask your father about forgiveness. I'm sure you'll have time to discuss it. You'll be sharing a cell block. The door closed behind me, and I finally let myself shake. Olivia and Samuel waited in the hallway, ready to catch me if I fell. But I didn't fall. Not anymore. The farmhouse looked different in the autumn light. I stood at the kitchen window, watching Olivia sort through the last of the boxes. 6 rounds of chemotherapy had left me weaker, but still standing. Something Ryan hadn't managed from his prison cell. Mom? Olivia held up an old photo album. Should we keep these? I took the album, opening to a page where Margaret and Ryan smiled at some long-ago Christmas. No, but wait. I pulled out one photo. Ryan's father, Thomas, standing proud in front of the barn he'd built. This should go to the Historical Society. They're turning the farm into a community trust. The doorbell rang. Emma stood on the porch, clutching a manila envelope. She'd testified against Ryan last month, helping secure his conviction. I found these in an old storage unit, she said, handing me the envelope. Letters between Margaret and Ryan, discussing Thomas's accident. I thought, maybe the truth should finally come out. I studied the yellowed papers, feeling their weight. Some truths serve no purpose, except revenge. Isn't that what this was all about? Emma asked. At first. I walked to the fireplace, where embers still glowed from morning coffee. But revenge doesn't cure cancer. It doesn't build futures. The letters caught quickly, curling into ash. Samuel arrived with lunch and news. Margaret's plea deal went through. She'll serve 5 years. The board approved transferring the farm to the community trust, with Olivia as a primary stakeholder. And the other families? I asked. The restitution payments started today. Ryan's victims will get everything back, plus interest. Olivia joined us, carrying a small box of her own discoveries. Look what I found in Dad's study. She pulled out a stack of birthday cards. Everyone I'd ever given Ryan, saved despite his betrayals. People are complicated, I said, touching the faded signatures, even when they hurt us. Is that why you burned the letters? Emma asked. No, I burned them because we get to choose what stories we tell. I moved to the window again, watching golden leaves scatter across the yard. Some choices protect, others destroy. Ryan and Margaret chose destruction. We're choosing something else, like turning the farm into something good. Olivia smiled, understanding. Exactly. I touched the window glass, cool against my palm. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building something beautiful from the ashes. Emma stood to leave, pausing at the door. Do you regret any of it? Only that it took cancer and betrayal to show me my own strength. I turned to Olivia, seeing my reflection in her determined eyes. But some lessons are worth the scars. The autumn wind swept through the open door, carrying away the last traces of smoke from Margaret's burning secrets. Outside, the farm stretched toward tomorrow, waiting to become something new.
The sound of laughter hits me before I even open the front door, unfamiliar, intrusive